I am so tired of this Black Lives Matter movement. Now, a lot of you are going to start screaming, oh, you're white privilege, blah, 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 blah. No, you need to understand what I'm saying. What I am saying is I am tired of the fact that changes should have been started long before George Floyd. Long before. But since George Floyd, we've had Congress doing nothing but procrastinating. The Republicans in the Senate want to procrastinate because they don't want the Democrats to get anything done. I am tired of it. There are people's lives at stake. I am tired of states getting so nuts on gun laws that they're allowing people who do these atrocities to minority groups to continue do it. And they're doing nothing about it. I am tired of it. I am tired when a man goes out or a woman goes out and does harm to mainly minority people that they have to think about whether it's a hate crime or not. I'm tired of it. Like that man who shot up 3 different Oriental businesses or whatever it was over in Philadelphia or wherever it was. They had to think about whether or not it was a hate crime. The man who shot up those massage parlors. There were white massage parlors there. Why didn't he go to them? Because it was a hate crime. If you have somebody doing a crime to harm others and the majority of the people they harm are not the same race as them, it is a hate crime! Because they're targeting people who are not like them. Period. No investigating on whether or not it's a hate crime. Guesstimating whether or not it's a hate crime. None of this, oh, we can't get in their mindset. Fuck their mindset! You know their mindset! When the people they're primarily targeting is not of their own race, you know their mindset. Now, it would be a different story if, say, a white man and a black man, or an Oriental man and a black man, or a white woman and a black woman, or whatever, got into a heated argument and then a fight. As long as there were no racial slurs, yes, then you can think about whether or not it was a hate crime. But if you get a white man coming up and punching a black man without any, or shooting a black man without any prior provocation, it's a hate crime. Period. Because he sought out that black person. He didn't do it to a white person. He could have passed up 10 different white people, but he chose the black one. Same thing with a black person. If a black person is walking around and sitting there and doing nothing to other black people, but targets a white or an Oriental, it is a hate crime. If they're targeting somebody for no justifiable reason that is an opposite race of themselves, it is a hate crime. Period. No investigating it. No trying to get into their mindset. It is a hate crime. Nothing is being done within law enforcement. Some states are making some of these policies that are killing people more prevalent. Some states are stopping it. I applaud those states, but they're still not doing enough. We need a systemic change to our policing nationwide. We need a systemic change to our gun laws nationwide. We need a systemic change to what is a hate crime nationwide. These laws were majority made to protect white people and to penalize anybody of color, to be used against minority groups. It needs to change. It needs to stop. If it can be done to a black man, it should be done to a white man. If it can be done to an Oriental person, it should be done to a black person. If it can be done to a Native American person, it should be done to an Oriental person. That is the plain and simple of it all. And we need to make laws that if a white woman comes up into a Native American, black, Oriental, whatever, and she starts spouting her mouth off and being rude and trying to stop somebody from using a business area, then she should be slapped with harassment of racial injustice. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. We need laws to protect our minority groups when they go out and they go shopping, that they're not harassed by some bigoted racist out there. We need to have laws to stop it. We need to have things put in place that it is no longer thought as a privilege for them to be able to do them things. We need things changed. And you Republicans, you're a bunch of shitheads for not trying to. I hope to God your mindset of do everything you can to make the Democrats fail end up making you obsolete. Because if you cannot work with the Democrats to do what's best for the citizens of this nation, you do not deserve to be in office. You do not deserve your position. Plain and simple. And that is why I hate the Black Lives Matter movement. Not because of what it's trying to change, but because of what it hasn't changed. I believe in it, but I'm sick of it right now. It's not that I hate the movement. I am so sick of it right now. Because nobody's listening. They're still not listening. They're not going to listen until something more horrific happens. They're not going to listen until the nation is put on fire for a year. And I don't mean literal fire. I don't mean literal fire. I mean the fire of their soul to fight and protest and stand up until something is actually done. Now, people like me, I'm stuck here because of what was done to me as far as abuse as a child. I'm too afraid to get out there in the group. And I'm in a small town where I couldn't. But if I had the support and the ability to get there and somebody to wrap their arm around me, I would stand there shaking in my fear. I would stand there crying. And I would stand there in the group protesting. But I can't. We need to stop this. It's killing our nation. It's killing our world. We need things to change. Because if we don't ever change, we're never going to get better. And if all the Republicans want to do is sit there and use their bipartisan or their partisan bullcrap to stop everything, then we need to get them out. We need to tell them that we're insisting on change. We've had it. There's enough. Enough is enough. I'm tired of the Black Lives Matter movement because there's too many white lives that are ignoring it. I'm tired of the Latino Lives Matter movement because there's too many white lives ignoring it. I'm tired of the Asian Lives Matter movement because there's too many white lives that are ignoring it. And even worse, there's too many white lives out there trying to set all these other groups against each other so that nothing is done. And too many of you are falling for it. Instead of standing up and saying, yeah, my Black Lives Matter, when somebody with Asian Lives Matter coming up saying, hey, bro, I understand you. They're standing out there and saying, I don't see why you're... It's bullshit. Grab their hand, hang on to their hand, and walk down the street with them. The only people that shouldn't be standing there with a sign that says White Lives Matter are the people who are out there who have had all the privilege all this time. We're not saying that white lives don't matter at all. We're saying that white lives aren't more important than any of these other races. And these white people are trying to put you against each other because they think their life is more important. And they don't want to lose. It's not their privilege over you they don't want to lose. It's their oppression over you they don't want to lose. Because as long as we're not paying attention to the injustice, they're allowed to continue the injustice. As long as we're infighting between the groups of Native American, Latino, Asian, Black, or people like me who's multi-races, as long as we're pitting all those groups against each other, the white lives matter of the bigots succeed. Because it's not really white lives matter to them. It's white oppression matters. And we need to stop it. So decide. Are we going to let this die out? Are we going to ignore what the Republicans are doing? Or are we going to stop it? We're going to get out there and vote these damn Republicans out of office and knock this shit off? And make sure something is done? And are we going to vote any Democrat out there who is unwilling to do the same thing and fight just as hard as every one of the citizens in this nation to stop this injustice? Are we going to vote them out of office? Because as long as we leave them in office, nothing will ever change. Nothing will ever change. And that's the way the white bigot wants it. You mark my word. The minute we start getting rid of those out there who are pitting all of us against each other and who are blocking these bills out of office, you mark my words. It's going to get way worse for minority groups before it gets better. Mark my words. Because the white man is watching. Their ability to subjugate minority groups slip away. And they're not wanting it. It's just like the dying Republican Party voting into law all these laws that restrict voting rights. The reason why they're doing it is because they're watching their party die with its bigotry and their partisanship. And they don't want to change. They just want to force you not to be able to help make them change. So let's make them change. Let's make it so that their voter suppression and their voter laws that suppress people don't work by getting up, getting out there, and voting these assholes out of office. And insisting on change and not letting up on this system until there is change, real change, not incremental change anymore. We've been satisfied with incremental change for far too many years. The incremental change started just before I was born in 1964. I'm 57 years old, and there really hasn't been that much of a change from when I was a kid. What's that say? If today's America doesn't look much different from the America I grew up in the 60s, the only difference is that regular citizens are not allowed to burn black people alive in the middle of the street and get away with it. No, now it's officers are allowed to do it. And they don't have to burn them, they just shoot them. And regular citizens are being questioned on whether or not their actions towards a minority group was considered to be a hate crime or not. Or should I say their unjustified actions. That's the only difference there is. Otherwise, it's still the same. White man still gets away with going out there and doing every harm they want to do to minority groups and then getting away with it with just simple assault, which may get them probation or a fine or something like that. Because the system does not want to prosecute them on what they are doing, which is exactly a hate crime. And it needs to stop. And it needs to stop now. We're getting tired of it. What good is any kind of a movement if it doesn't bring on systemic change? What good is any movement if all we're going to be is satisfied with the most slightest change? You might as well stop the movement now if all you're going to be satisfied is with the most slightest change. Yes, I know we're going to have to not want some things. And we're going to have to move in increments to a point. But not the increments we've been moving in. Not the increments of give them 1 step forward and 3 steps back. No, we need to move forward and keep moving forward. Make every step forward. Okay, you get to live in the suburbs now. Now we need to make it so that if they're living in the suburbs, that the laws around law enforcement is changed so that when they're living in those suburbs, they feel home. They don't feel fear. We need change to be that if we're going to consider that there are hate laws out there, hate crime laws out there, that those hate crime laws are not just investigated when you can clearly see that it's one race that attacked another race without justification. Doesn't matter if the person called the other person a racial name. All it matters is that person was targeted without justification. If a man went out and murdered nothing but women, would you think that his crimes were meant against all of humanity or just women? If a man goes out there and he's doing crimes against a minority group other than, or a racial group other than their own, are you going to consider it that he's doing it against all humanity, or is it against those other races? Plain and simple. Come on, people. We can do better.